I also apologize for the weather. Those of you who come from outside of Queensland were probably expecting better. Those of you who come from New South Wales are probably upset still about the state of origin, so apologies for that as well. I'm using my laptop here because I'm trying to be conscious of trees and things. So welcome, everybody, as Charles says. The year 1942 marked the beginning of the Australian-American Alliance. In the last week of 1941, Curtin sought cooperation in the higher direction of the Pacific War with the UK, the United States, the Netherlands, and China. He also planned that we should be able to look forward with reason to aid from Russia against Japan. That was remarkably optimistic, given that fact that the Russians were not even at war with Japan and would not do so until August 1949, nearly 4 years later. In 1942, the Soviet Union, now Russia, was fighting in the Donbass region. The difference being that they were defending it from Nazis rather than taking it from the Ukrainians. But Curtin saw the Pacific struggle as one in which the United States and Australia must have the fullest say in the direction of the democracy's fighting plan. This led to his famous words: "Without any inhibition of any kind, I make it quite clear that Australia looks to America, free from any pangs as our traditional links or kinship with the United Kingdom." When General MacArthur turned up in Australia, Curtin offered him command of all forces in Australia, in the expectation that MacArthur would be better able to secure reinforcements and provide more opportunities for a fuller say. MacArthur set up his Southwest Pacific Command in Melbourne and then transferred to Brisbane on the 23rd of July after the Battle of Midway. The building which he was in is actually still in the CBD. You can go and see it if you wish. It now houses the Apple store. 1942 also marked the complete independence of Australia's foreign affairs and defense when Australia adopted the Statute of Westminster through the Act of Parliament, which received royal assent on October 1942. Interestingly enough, it was backdated to September 1st, 1939, just before the outbreak of World War II in Europe. On the 3rd of September, Sir Robert Menzies had famously said, "It is my melancholy duty to inform you officially that in consequence of the persistence by Germany in the invasion of Poland, Great Britain has declared war upon her, and that, as a result, Australia is also at war." From now on, the formal decision would, of course, be made by Australia. 1942 also provided the foundations of the United Nations. The declaration by the United Nations was signed by 26 nations on the 1st and 2nd of January, 1942. It included the United States, the United Kingdom, the USSR, China, Australia, and 21 other countries, including 8 governments in exile. 4 of those nations formed a short-lived and doomed joint command called ABDA, American, British, Dutch, Australia, which tried to defend what is now the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia. This proved impossible as Japan controlled the South China Sea and sank most of the ships that were sent there. Later in 1942, desperate battles were fought by Australians and Americans in New Guinea and the Solomon Islands by MacArthur's Southwest Pacific Command, and thwarted Japanese attempts to control the island chain from New Britain to Fiji, which would have cut off Australia from the United States. Among the many Americans who fought in those battles was a future US president, John F. Kennedy, who, interestingly enough, his daughter is the next US ambassador to Australia. Australia emerged from that year a fully independent nation, a member of a nascent United Nations, and allied to the United States. This year finds us with strategic concerns about the South China Sea again, the first island chain from East Asian continental mainland coast, a variety of alliances and international agreements varying in strength, ANZUS, AUKUS, Quad, and other security pacts. A shifting balance of power and challenges to the rules-based international order centered on the United Nations and its institutions. These are the challenges we face now in 2022. Griffith University is delighted to partner with Brisbane's MacArthur Museum to celebrate and reflect on 3 80th anniversaries of significant moments in Australia's independence, American alliance, and the United Nations. These multiple 80th anniversaries provide an opportunity to reflect on the challenges our two countries met in those days, the challenges we wrought, and the challenges we may face in the future. The events of that year provided the basis for much that has happened since. Greater Australian independence, the American alliance, and the role of the United Nations. Griffith is proud to host this discussion and is participating through the Law Future Center, the Griffith Asian Institute, the Institute for Ethics, Governance, and Law, and the Griffith Law School, with the conference being held here at the Queensland Conservatory of Music on Griffith's South Bank campus. The Griffith Asian Institute is built on Griffith's long-standing interest in Asian studies, while the law school and associated centers have been involved in international law and UN work for quite some time. In addition to the MacArthur Museum, we welcome the participants of the UNAA, the AIIA, and the Fulbright Commission. As former senior Fulbrighters, Paul Stanford is pleased to see the Fulbright involvement and the participation of our 3 current and past Fulbright recipients, Professor Ramshid Thakur, Professor Peter Dean, and Professor Zhuoqin Zhu. It is a reminder of the vision of senior Fulbright to invest in the proceeds of American war surplus to funding the most extensive system of scholarship and fellowship ever, truly turning swords into intellectual plowshares. I wish all the participants and all the partners of this conference the very best for their very important discussions that will take place today as we reflect on the past to help us prepare for the future. Thank you.